Good afternoon, everyone. And my name is Huyen, and I'm currently an assistant manager at Dezan Shira's Business Intelligence Department. I'm based in Vietnam. Also, it's my pleasure to speak about Vietnam pharmaceutical market opportunities in today's webinar. Vietnam is currently undergoing economic and also demographic transformations that provide great potential for its healthcare sector, and particularly pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical market of Vietnam has been characterized by imported medical equipment and medicines. And also thanks to the recent signed free trade agreements, such as the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement or the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, foreign producers and suppliers are wishing to enter this potential market. So my presentation includes 3 sections. First of all, I will provide you a general overview of Vietnam's pharmaceutical market, with a focus on industry sides, FDI inflow, import, export, and also supply chain. And after that, I will go through emerging opportunities for this industry under RCEP. And the last section will be the market entry strategies for overseas pharma machinery suppliers, tech transfer, and pharma manufacturers. So the first section, Vietnam's pharmaceutical market overview and update after COVID-19. So Vietnam's pharmaceutical industry is kept at level 3 according to classification scale of the World Health Organization. That is to say that Vietnam has a domestic pharmaceutical industry and manufactures generics as well as exports some pharmaceutical products to the other countries. Vietnam is considered as an attractive market for pharmaceutical industry, as the country spends nearly 7% of its GDP on health, comparing to India with only 3.5% and Japan with 9%. And 60% of the medical expenses are spent on pharmaceuticals. In 2019, spending on pharmaceuticals in Vietnam was $6.6 billion US, and the level of spending on pharmaceuticals is about $69 US per person. Currently, there are roughly 180 drug producers in Vietnam, with 224 GMP standard pharmaceutical factories. The industry has employed about 44,000 people. However, the manufacturing still depends a lot on importing raw materials. Particularly, Vietnamese firms mainly produce simple dosage medications, functional foods, and generic drugs. Domestic firms lack of research and development capability, and also the ability to invest in new compounds. On the other hand, in recent years, Vietnam's living standard, awareness of healthcare issues, and the access to medicines have been improved a lot. Being a tropical monsoon climate country, and a great deal of disease are more likely to be easily occurred in Vietnam. Vietnam is also facing with the risk of environmental pollution and the lack of safety in the daily food. Furthermore, the country's population ranks 15th in the world, and its population density is very high among Southeast Asian nations. All that leads to the need for healthcare increase. With the economy continues to grow, a significant percentage of the total population are middle-aged people whose income is increasing and are likely to be able to pay high medical costs. All of the above factors have resulted in an increasing demand for medicines in Vietnam. Despite higher growth rate of exports, Vietnam remains a net importer of pharmaceutical products. A significant part of pharmaceuticals and medical materials used in Vietnam is imported. The import value was over $2 billion per year. Particularly in 2019, it reached $3.1 billion. The main imported products are Western medicaments and special medicaments that cannot be produced domestically. Main import markets are the EU, USA, Korea, India, and China. On the other hand, compared with import, Vietnam's exports of pharmaceutical products to the other countries accounts for only small turnover. Form of export direct export of processed products for foreign clients. Main export market are the USA, Japan, ASEAN countries, and some African countries. The import is mainly in the form of foreign customer supply pharmaceuticals and rent Vietnamese factories processing and re-importing these finished products. So let's take a look at the domestic supply chain. Domestic manufacturers and importers sell their pharmaceutical products to wholesalers or wholesale market, which is a unique distribution spot that presents exclusively in Vietnam. There are currently 2 wholesale markets specializing in pharmaceuticals in the 2 biggest cities of Vietnam, which is Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi. In fact, wholesale markets are also home to pharmaceuticals whose unclear origins, counterfeit, low quality, and sample are almost expired drugs without certification. Unfortunately, there are significant sources of supplies for pharmacy and private clinics in Vietnam. In the meanwhile, wholesalers can also sell pharmaceuticals at wholesale market directly to pharmacy store, private clinics, or to hospitals through bidding. At the downstream supply chain, pharmacies and private clinics sell products to over-the-counter patients, which account for approximately 30% of pharmaceutical market shares, while hospitals supply through ethical drug channels, means selling drugs at prescribed, making up for a dominant share of 70% of the market. So Vietnam is now available for many kinds of branded pharmaceuticals produced in the third countries. Multinational companies tend to produce branded drugs in related to nations to reduce cost and incentives from the supporting policies for domestically produced pharmaceuticals. In 2019, the pharmaceutical industry in Vietnam has been attracting 50 projects with the value of $500 million, mainly in medicine manufacturing with 60%, and only a small amount of 10% for logistics and storage. Among all types of investment, M&A in the pharmaceutical industry has been very brightened. These move ease market access for foreign firms and help them avoid restrictions on foreign direct investment. And also for domestic companies, the integration creates more R&D opportunities and allows for the sharing of expertise and the best governance practice. as well as access to foreign markets. So a quick update after COVID-19 situation in Vietnam. The COVID-19 outbreak certainly damped the economic activity in Vietnam, but it is unlikely to revert ongoing socio-economic changes. Rather, health stands firmly as top priority and a concern for both the Vietnamese people and the government. Moreover, a growing concern over food safety, pollution, and unsafe living and working conditions have also made people more willing to spend on medicines and healthcare. So first of all, about pharmaceuticals. Vietnam imports more than 90% of drugs imports, half of which are from China. With the closure of many Chinese factories in 2020, the pharmaceutical industry was negatively affected by the shortage of pharmaceutical raw materials in the first 2 months of 2020 and the stagnation of cooperation with foreign countries as well. However, the pharmaceutical industry is only affected by COVID-19 epidemic in short term. In fact, the difficulties in sourcing pharmaceutical raw materials passed quickly. Pharmaceutical manufacturing enterprises in Vietnam have increased the purchase of raw materials for storage. And also with the increasing demand for medicine amid the COVID-19, pharmaceutical companies registered positive results in 2020. The country's largest pharmaceutical firm, DHG Pharmaceutical Choice Drug Company, had a $5 million profit, which represented a 31% year-on-year increase. About digital healthcare, the COVID-19 has accelerated greater demand for technology-enabled services, a phenomenon that is likely to continue in the next decades with the arrival of Industry 4.0 innovations. In September 2020, the Ministry of Health in Vietnam has launched a telemedicine platform to provide remote consultation and treatment that link over 1,000 health facilities and connecting 27 upper tier hospitals with other lower tier ones. The startup sector in Vietnam, despite of a small size compared to that of the other Southeast Asian countries, such as Singapore or Indonesia. However, it is also actively contributing to the digitalization of healthcare in Vietnam. Some provide booking services that allow patients to schedule appointments with doctors without visiting the hospitals, thereby reducing long queues and minimizing infection risk. Patients are able to discuss their health concerns and obtain answers from healthcare professionals, which is difficult in public hospital where the consultation times are limited. About the vaccines situation in Vietnam, the need for vaccines still increased considerably when up until now, only 1.5% of Vietnamese have received at least one dose of the COVID vaccine, and only 0.1% is fully vaccinated. Many proposals from the People's Committee Government Research Department were made to the Prime Minister of Vietnam to allow businesses to actively find the source of vaccines from reputable manufacturers and distributors in the world, and then import to Vietnam. So let's move to the section 2, pharmaceutical market opportunities in Vietnam under RCEP. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, will come into force when at least 6 ASEAN countries and 3 partnered countries complete the procedures for ratification, acceptance, or approval of the agreement. Up to now, there have been 4 economies, including Japan, Singapore, Thailand, and China, have completed the ratification procedures for this agreement. The member countries of RCEP and that this agreement will officially come into force on January the 1st, 2022. It is expected that the agreement will also soon be submitted to the National Assembly of Vietnam for consideration and approval this year, because this agreement is promised to bring many opportunities to the Vietnamese economy when it comes into force. So the main benefit of RCEP lies in the harmonization of rules of origin and tariffs. Therefore, in order to take advantage of the agreement, businesses should actively learn to meet the rules of origin in the best way. Vietnamese enterprises can use input materials from all countries in the RCEP, including 10 ASEAN countries and 5 partner countries, to produce goods and export to any of the countries. These members also enjoy preferential tariff treatment if the rules of origin are met. Vietnam has articulated a time frame by which they have committed to liberalizing own tariffs. I have here summarized the tariff reduction schedule that committed by the Vietnam. You can see in this table. Most of the product lines in pharmaceuticals and medicinal materials currently have the most favored nation tariffs that Vietnam is normally applied at the rate of 0%. The remaining pharmaceuticals and medicinal materials have currently normal tax rate ranges from 5 to 8%. Tariffs on 11 product lines shall be removed immediately upon the RCEP's entry into force, and the rest will be eliminated gradually within 10 years. The rule of origin is a very important part of the RCEP. Under this rule, a good is considered to be originating if it meets one of the following 3 conditions. The good is wholly obtained in a member country. The good is produced solely from materials originating in one or more member countries, or the good using non-originating materials that meet the requirements of the commodity-specific rules. For the process of issuing and checking certificates of origin, proof of origin documents include the certificate of origin, or CO, self-declarations of origin of goods by the eligible exporter, and self-certification documents of origins of the exporter. Besides tariff reductions, other opportunities emerging from non-tariff barriers shall be also highly noted. These include intellectual property rights, restriction removal on the quantity and simplified procedures, important improvement on intellectual property rights, will make Vietnam more attractive for producers of pharmaceutical products and therefore enable better access to quality medicines for the population. In RCEP, Vietnam also commits to remove restrictions of the number of import and export products. There are no limitation on the quantity of import or export products. Vietnam will align with international standards on pharmaceuticals. This means that there are opportunities as pharmaceutical products are already certified in other parties, will not require additional testing and certification in Vietnam, which can have a reduced cost and time to the market. Apart from that, there are still some barriers remaining. Foreign investor companies are prohibited from distributing drugs in Vietnam. They are only permitted to do contact wholesale and retail activities with non-pharmaceutical supplement in the form of tablet, capsules, and powder. Members in RCEP are still not allowed to establish a company to import pharmaceutical products to be sold in Vietnam. Vietnam has not committed to opening the market for drug distribution services within the framework of RCEP trade agreement because the pharmaceutical sector is a sensitive field in the country and is directly related to drug access and people's health. About marketing, it is prohibited to promote any drugs used for human trade, such as giving free samples, except for promotion among drug traders or distributors. The promotion of drugs to end users or health professionals is also strictly prohibited. So the question is how to enter this potential market. I have identified market strategy entry options for three main groups of investors: for the pharma manufacturers, for overseas pharma machinery suppliers, and for tech transfer. So one of the best ways to enter the market and become established in Vietnam is to find a local partner to start a joint venture or acquire an existing manufacturing company. Over recent years, there has been a growing number of mergers and acquisitions in Vietnam, with many foreign investors purchasing large amounts of shares in Vietnamese companies. This market entry strategy has few advantages, such as less time consuming. Local partners has a better ability to form connections with pharmaceutical distributors in Vietnam, or it could have eliminated some barriers faced with brand awareness due to the restrictions on advertising in Vietnam, as I mentioned before. However, by this way of investment, investors cannot fully control decision making, or there might be potential problems from mismatches in information and communication. Some typical and managed projects in Vietnam in pharmaceutical industry, for example, the Taisho Pharmaceutical Company Limited, which is a unit of Taisho Pharmaceutical Holding Group in Japan, has increased its ownership rate in DHG Pharmaceutical Joint Stock Company to 51%. Or another one is the SK Group of Korea, has acquired a 24.9% stake in Medpharm Vietnam. One highlight for the M&A in this industry in Vietnam is the passing of the new law on investment in Vietnam, which removed the need for approval if the transaction does not increase the foreign investors' ownership ratios in the target company. The M&A approval required a number of documents to be notarized and legalized by consular authorities in the foreign investors' home jurisdiction, thus taking up a significant amount of time in the pre-completion process. In February 2020, the government has licensed the export of fabric face mask in response to high demand from global market. This has helped local businesses, particularly textile and garment, with rising orders. Face masks are not the only products that has been sold after the pandemic, but ventilators, gloves, gowns, and testing kits from Vietnam have also been accepted around the world. Face masks were exported to the US, the EU, Singapore, and South Korea. Apart from that, most medical equipment of Vietnam needs to be imported. There are very few local manufacturers of sophisticated and specialized devices that meet international standards. In fact, more than 90% of medical equipment is imported from countries such as Japan, Germany, the US, China, and Singapore, while domestic enterprises account for only 10% of the market share. In public hospitals across the country, there is a lack of sufficient equipment for surgery and intensive care units. Furthermore, the existing equipment is outdated and needs to be replaced. As such, because the local production cannot meet the demand, the Vietnamese government encourages the import of medical equipment by setting low import duties and no quota restrictions. Medical devices are subject to requirements set by the Ministry of Health. Foreign suppliers often work through local distributors or agents, as only companies with legal business entities in Vietnam and an import license can distribute medical equipment. Imported devices, unlike those manufacturers in Vietnam, are not required to be registered and only need a certificate of free sale from the embassies of Vietnam in the originating country. Medical device producer can look forward to opportunities created by trade agreement, improvements in regulatory standards, exchange of information on custom requirements, and the simplification of customs procedures are a few of the anticipated benefits from the implementation of the free trade agreements in Vietnam. Regarding transparent technologies, as I mentioned before, foreign investor companies are prohibited from distributing drugs in Vietnam to protect the pharmaceutical industry of the country. The Vietnam government prioritized foreign companies with domestic production bases. The pharmaceutical industry strategy to 2030 of Vietnam has also determined to promote the development of the domestic pharmaceutical industry through cooperation in innovation and technology transfer, particularly in manufacturing high-quality drugs that meet the international standards. Here you can find two examples of successful technology transfer projects in the pharmaceutical industry in Vietnam. The first one, Pharmaceutical, has received technology transfer from a Korean partner, namely Dezan. According to the project, Dezan and Pharmaceutical have agreed to transfer the Korean technology for 8 products, including liver drugs. Dezan will complete the transfer of related technologies in 2020 to start selling drugs in Vietnam from 2021. Through cooperation with Pharmaceutical, Dezan can manufacture and sell diverse products in Vietnam. Another one, last year, Pfizer Vietnam has officially announced its cooperation with Medochemy in transferring technology for manufacturing Pfizer's patented drugs in Vietnam. This helps bring Pfizer's global technologies and operating platform for difficult to manufacture products such as injectables to Vietnam, and have raised Vietnam's drug manufacturing standards to the same level as developed markets around the world. So my presentation has come to an end. I hope you find the information interesting and valuable. If you have any questions regarding the topic, please feel free to contact my email address here. I will get in touch with you in the next day for the answers. On behalf of Dezan and Associates, thank you for your time today, and wish you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.